I'm here with Alessandro Medici at the Medici Ermete winery in Emilia-Romagna, and of course they are known for producing outstanding Lambrusco. And Alessandro, we were talking about the fact that last week there was the World Lambrusco Day events in Paris, which was so fantastic in order to help promote Lambrusco globally. But one of the things that we always try to explain to people is that Lambrusco it's not one grape variety, it's not one style of wine, and there's such a diversity and versatility with the wines. And when we talk about wine, we always try to explain to people that it has so much to do with the context, the people and the place and the culture and the history. So let's start with place, because we're located here in Reggio Emilia with this gorgeous vineyards. Talk about what makes this place so unique for the grapes that you grow.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. And this is the question, because our slogan is that in English doesn't sound so good, like in Italian, but is bringing Emilia-Romagna into the world and bringing the world into Emilia-Romagna. It means that in this slogan, it doesn't appear the word Lambrusco, the word Medici Ermete, but the territory, because it's before anything. And we are in the heart of the Emilia-Romagna region, that is probably one of the most dynamic regions in Italy, considered the food valley, the motor valley, a lifestyle area. And we are in the heart of this region in a province, in a city called Reggio Emilia, that together with Modena is the province of production of Lambrusco, so Reggio Emilia and Modena. Here we are in Reggio Emilia. Medici Ermete is the oldest winery in the Reggio Emilia province, 133 years. And you asked me what makes this area unique. There are several things. First of all, I consider this area one of the most fertile area in the whole world. Before I told you that we are considered the food valley, and the reason why we are considered the food valley is because in this area the agriculture is magic. We are surrounded by the Apennine chains. You can see from here the beautiful hills and the chain of mountains Appennino, the Apennine that divide Emilia-Romagna from Tuscany. And this chain of mountains create an amazing microclimate here. We are surrounded by hundreds of rivers. We have the longest river in Italy called Po, P-O. And from the Po River, we have so many small rivers that touch every single square meter of our province. So we are in a magic land for the agriculture and the viticulture. And talking about the viticulture, our grape is Lambrusco.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's so many different types of Lambrusco. Lambrusco di Sorbara, Grasparossa, Salamino. Talk about the Lambrusco that you guys grow and why that specific variety.
Yeah, Salamino is the main variety cultivated in the Reggio Emilia province and Reggio Emilia city. So we cultivate mainly the Salamino variety. But of course we cultivate also other varieties in the Lambrusco family. Here we have, for example, the Sorbara variety cultivated in Modena, where we have one of our estate, that is the smallest estate that we have. We cultivate also Lambrusco Marani. That is a very unknown variety because usually producers were used to use the Lambrusco Marani to cut the other varieties. We decided to make a method champenoise, the unique, using 100% Lambrusco Marani because it's a very peculiar variety, very similar to Sorbara variety, so with this beautiful acidity. And then we cultivate also the Ancellotta grape that is not in the Lambrusco family, even if it's related to the Lambrusco family, a very ancient variety cultivated in this area.
Mm-hmm. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and pour these side by side in the glass.
Yes.
Because I think one of the things that is so important for people is to be able to see this rainbow that exists with Lambrusco.
Yes. I pour all the three Lambrusco so you can see the differences in the color. Look at that. So different, but same grape. You know, I always say, people think that Lambrusco, it's an easy wine. Lambrusco, it's easy because it's easy to drink and to finish a bottle of Lambrusco. But the Lambrusco wine and the Lambrusco grape is extremely, it has a lot of complexity, but in a good way. I mean, how many crus of Burgundy, of Barolo we can say, you know? So I think the complexity is a good characteristic for a grape and for a wine area.
Absolutely. So I tell you what, let's start on with the end, because
Yes.
the lightest one.
Yes. May I pair also to your glasses?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So let's start with the first one. This is called Unique. It's a champenoise method made with Lambrusco Marani, 100%. Unique has this second fermentation that happens in the bottle for 27 months. So it's basically made like a champagne, like a Franciacorta. So it has the elegance of the method, of the champenoise method, but in the same time, we wanted to keep the characteristics of Lambrusco. So we have an amazing acidity that makes this wine extremely elegant and extremely versatile and extremely gastronomic. It has these beautiful floral notes, typical also of the Lambrusco Marani. And when you taste it, it has this, I mean, it's so refreshing due to the acidity, due to the gently and elegant perlage that make, I think, this wine extremely interesting for the category. What do you think?
You know, I think it's so interesting because this, I mean, traditionally Lambrusco was made using traditional method.
Yeah.
And I think there was a misperception that was created based on the Lambruscos that were available in North America in in the 80s, and
Yes.
it created this kind of different image of Lambrusco. And so it's nice to see so many producers that are moving to help change that perception, to go back that Lambrusco is a quality wine and it has that diversity. And I mean, the thing about this that I love is the fact that it finishes so clean.
Yeah.
It finishes relatively right. It has that beautiful acidity to
Yes.
it, but it is so easy to drink still.
Yes.
It's got the complexity of the flavor, but it has that accessibility in terms of drinkability.
You perfectly described not just this wine, but the whole Lambrusco world. I mean, I had this wine last night with the tempura, shrimp tempura, crunchy, oily, with the acidity of this wine was perfect. But just stay in our area, I mean, with all our cured meats, all our charcuteries like mortadella, prosciutto di Parma. The first characteristic of Lambrusco is the versatility. Lambrusco is one of the most versatile wine that we can find in the world. From a producer side, it's very hard for me to say that Lambrusco is the most important grape in the world. I mean, Pinot Noir, all the varieties in Bordeaux have more history, more complexity. But Lambrusco, it's one of the most versatile wine that we can find in the world. This is what we have to communicate to the people.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And so let's go to the next one here.
Yes, the next one is my baby. It's my first project in the winery. It's called Fermento. Fermento from fermentation. As I always say, if you don't like, just don't tell me, because I don't want to know that my son is ugly. Just think about, just don't tell me. It's a pet nut. So it's made with the method that is called ancestral in Italian. So it's re-fermented in the bottle with the yeast, but at the end of the fermentation, we leave the yeast inside of the bottle. That's why the wine is a little bit cloudy, but this is the characteristic of the wine. The wine is totally dry, no sugar. It has this unbelievable acidity that makes this wine unique because it's made using Lambrusco di Sorbara, 100%. That, in my opinion, is the most elegant variety in the Lambrusco family.
And with Sorbara, I think people should know that because it doesn't have a lot of pigment
Yes.
in the skins, Sorbara is always going to be lighter.
Yes.
And that doesn't make it a rosé. It's still a red,
Yes.
but just the fact that it can't give a lot of color. But the thing with Sorbara that I love is the fact that it does have, again, so much flavor and it's beautiful acidity, and it almost has this incredible backbone of structure
Yes.
to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The characteristic of the color is very important. Also, with a very long skin contact, the color wouldn't change. Of course, it could change, but it will never become a red wine. And this is the characteristic that makes interesting this variety, similar of Cerasuolo,
Right.
in Abruzzo. And Sorbara is considered now also from the Gigi Psalms, I mean, the more hipster sommelier community, the most interesting, one of the most interesting variety, not just in the Lambrusco family, but in general in Italy. If you go in the United States, in Canada now, it's very easy to find a Lambrusco di Sorbara in a wine list, especially in a cool wine list. And this project is a Fermento project started in 2016 with 3,000 bottles. Nowadays we make 18,000 bottles, always sold out, always on allocation. It's very interesting how now some are considering this variety and this method.
Right, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting. I mean, because Pet Nat is so popular right now, and in some ways, Lambrusco is the original Pet Nat.
Yes, exactly, because Pet Nat was the original method of production of Lambrusco. So I'm the 5th generation of the winery. The 3rd generation of the winery was used to, when he started to make Lambrusco, he was usually doing Lambrusco using this method. The problem was that 100 years ago, it was very risky because we couldn't control the pressure of the bottle inside, and we didn't want to sell a bomb to our lovely customers. So we had to stop making this method. So I wanted to come back to the origin a few years ago. And I thought also that from a storytelling point of view, the new generation that was making the same method, a wine, like the 3rd generation was doing, I think was cool. And I loved Pet Nat, especially the good ones. And that's why we decided to make this project.
So let's actually talk a little bit about, the generational aspect of it, because the winery has been, in the family for a number of years. You're, as I say, 5th generation.
Yes.
So how do you go about maintaining and respecting the tradition that comes before you, but also continue to evolve with not just the market, but in terms of production? Because viticulture has changed, the technology in the winery has changed, but you still want to maintain kind of the link to your history.
Absolutely. Yeah, the link, the roots to the past is crucial. The respect for what my father, my grandfather did is unbelievable, believe me. Especially later we will talk about this wine, the Concerto. Concerto is considered one of the pioneers of the category. So when I entered in the winery, I saw some things that I wanted to change, but I didn't do immediately, because I think that when a new member of a family entering the winery, but enters in general in a company, needs to study the history. And this is what I did during the first year of my activity. I studied what my family did, and I had so much respect. Then I've been very lucky to have a father, very open-minded, and I started to talk with him. I started to bring him some ideas, and every day I brought to him like 10 ideas. He told me yes, usually was 1, 2 of the 10 ideas, but it was enough. And we started to have a good dialogue that, I think improved the company. We did so many things in the last 5 years. We got so many ideas, and we are just, continuing what my father, my grandfather did in the last 30 years, but maybe with a new perspective, with some new labels, with some new wines, with some new methods like the unique, with the traditional method. And nowadays we have a clear goal, so to bring the good quality Lambrusco around the world, and in the same time to bring the world here to visit us, because I think that the best experience that you can do with a wine is to drink this wine in front of the vineyards where the wine is made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think it's interesting that because your father, Alberto Medici, the first time I visited this region, I was so impressed because he said, no, we're not just going to taste our wine and we're not just going to see our winery. He made a point of taking us to see other producers, to see other areas, to expose us to everything that was happening. And he was really an ambassador for the entire region. And I think that was very unusual, not just for Italy, but so many wine regions in the world where sometimes producers don't necessarily want to work together. But I think, his philosophy is such a great thing for the region as a whole. because the more attention that's brought to the region as a whole, ultimately everyone in the region is going to benefit from it.
Yes, and absolutely. It's impossible to create a wine area if you are alone, first of all. How many producers of champagne we could say in 10 seconds? I mean, so many, no? So to create a wine area, uh, um, we must be a good movement of good quality producers. So it's so important to work together with the consortium in this case, but to promote Lambrusco, not just here, but all over the world. If you want to think to bring this wine and to explain this wine, the real one, not the cheap and the industrial one, all over the world, we need to work like a team. Otherwise, it's impossible. Nowadays, there is too competition. In everywhere in the world, they are producing wines. We are very lucky because we make a wine that is unique. So we need to scream to the world that we are unique, but to do this, we need to be a team. And this is what my father, I think, understood many years ago. And that's why the relations that our winery has also with the other wineries is extremely positive and extremely good.
And I think the region of Emilia-Romagna is, it almost has a step up in so many ways because it is, in many ways the gastronomic heart of Italy, in many ways the cultural heart of Italy. I mean, people, so many of the names that people associate with Italy, whether it's Parmigiano Reggiano, whether it's Balsamico di Modena, whether it's Ferrari or Ducati or Maserati or whether it's
Prosciutto di Parma, Pavarotti.
It's Verdi, Toscanini. There's so many things that are associated with Italy that are from this region.
Yes.
So in some ways, you already have a step up on a lot of other regions in that people recognize it. So it's just a natural thing that it's like, yeah, they're here. They should also be able to associate it with Lambrusco and the wine from the region.
Absolutely. It was the beginning of our conversation, no? The land, the territory. The French people use this wonderful word that is terroir. I mean, that is a general overview of what is the territory. Here we grow in one of the coolest region in the world for food and also for many other stuff. Ceramic, motors, sport. This region is so important for the economy of Italy. And I think that the world started a few years ago to recognize this land, how one of the trip to go during an Italian journey. And that's why we are receiving so many customers. Every year here we host more than 10,000 people all over the world that come here to taste our wines, to taste our balsamic vinegar. And then they can visit the restaurants, the producers of the area. You didn't mention the prosciutto di Parma, but together with pizza, the most iconic Italian dish is the bolognese sauce. Yes. Bolognese is from Bologna, it's from this area, the ragu. I mean, we have so many different type of ingredients. In Europe, we have a classification called DOP for the good quality food dishes, and Emilia-Romagna is the region in Europe with the highest number of DOP products.
Right. So let's go to the Concerto.
Yes.
Concerto is not just the flagship for Medici Ermete, but in some ways I think it's the benchmark for Salamino.
Oh, thank you so much. This is a very good compliment for a producer. I mean, Concerto was one of the pioneer of the category of the Lambrusco. Why? Because in 1993, when my father started to make the first vintage of Concerto, actually the project started in 1988 when he planted the vineyard, but in 1993 we had the first vintage. The image of Lambrusco was terrible. So what my father and my family did has been to make an analysis of the Lambrusco because nobody wanted to buy a Lambrusco anymore at the time because the quality of the Lambrusco was very bad. So what my family did has been to change completely the philosophy of making Lambrusco, making the Concerto. So Concerto was the first single vineyard cru Lambrusco ever made. That's why this wine, and it was dry, not sweet. So that's why this wine represents, for the whole area, one of the benchmark. And if you go to Tokyo, to New York, to Vancouver, to Brazil, you will probably find this wine in the wine list of the restaurant.
Right, absolutely. Now, what is it, specifically talk about Salamino, because I think people will see in markets now, they'll see Lambrusco di Sorbara, they'll see Grasparossa.
Yes.
But when you look at this bottle here, I mean, it doesn't say Salamino.
Yeah.
People will recognize Concerto,
Yes.
but they might not know that it's
Yes.
Salamino.
It's written Reggiano Lambrusco because Salamino is the grape. Then we have the denomination, like in every, region in Italy. Lambrusco Reggiano is the DOC of the area. As I said at the beginning, in this moment we are in Reggio Emilia. That is the country of Lambrusco, but also the Parmigiano Reggiano. So Reggiano is the cheese, Reggiano is also the DOC of the wine. It means from Reggio Emilia area. So Reggiano is the DOC. This wine is very particular because sometime in the wine menu I saw that sommelier didn't write Lambrusco Salamino, didn't write Lambrusco Reggiano, but just Concerto, because for this wine Concerto is like the brand. I mean, it's something more. But usually we have to say that this one is made with Salamino grape, but with the Reggiano DOC.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what is it, how would you describe this wine, and
Yes.
what is the typical characteristics for a wine for you
Yes.
that's made with Salamino?
So this wine is made, first of all, with Sharma method. So we have, I love to say, it's an explosion of red fruits at the nose. Salamino, in my opinion, is the most balanced variety in the Lambrusco family. So between the acidity, the tannin, the fruit, we have an extremely well-balanced structure. We have an harmony in the taste that makes this wine extremely gastronomic and extremely versatile. Because this wine with charcuteries, with fresh pasta, it works so well. I love the noise from the countryside because we are in a winery.
We're in a farm,
So
absolutely.
yes, exactly.
Fantastic. So let me ask you, in terms of, because we were talking a little bit earlier, the fact that, Lambrusco, the beauty of Lambrusco and all the different styles of Lambrusco is the diversity and the versatility. And it's not just that these Lambrusco go well with the food from the region. Of course they do, but I think what really gives them this fantastic versatility and accessibility is the fact that they go so well with so many different types of food, and globally so many different types of food.
We export in 73 countries all over the world. And one of the secrets is that our wines are so versatile. So starting from our local cuisine, as you said, but moving to a Mexican tacos. I mean, something spicy like Indian, Thai food, like American barbecue, or like Japanese ramen with rich of umami. This wine is so, or with barbecue, it's so versatile because this wine, as before I said, is unique. We have a very high acidity, we have bubbles, but in the same time we have tannin. So these three characteristics make this wine one of the most versatile wines in the world.
Right, absolutely. So what, as for you now, as you are getting more and more involved and, kind of taking the reins as the next generation, what are you looking at in terms of how do you want to make your mark in the business now?
Yeah. First of all, our goal is always the quality of the wines. So in our cellar, we are working so hard with our winemakers team to even to improve the quality in the winery using the technology. We became organic 100% for all our estates in 2020. This one was one of the achievements that I really wanted to get. So we are really working on the quality starting from the beginning, because the goal is to get a very high quality grape, because the grape is the raw material. I mean, for a chef to make a great dish, he has to start with a great raw material. And to get a great wines, we need to have a great raw material, that is the grape. So we need to get a great grape and then even improving in the quality in the cellar. This is the main goal. Then we are trying to move in different ways. The sustainability became a very important point for our winery. in 2021, we presented to the market a big project called Generation 2031. So it's a long-term project, 10 years, to try to make Medici Ermete a total sustainable winery. Following, the three important characteristics of the sustainability, so environment, social, ethic, and economic. So we calculated our carbon footprint. We started to reducing this number, and we want to bring it close to zero in 10 years. We calculated our water footprint. We calculated our biodiversity footprint. That I think is a very important number for a wine producer. And then we started to introduce some circular economic activities in the winery. I just tell you one that I think is very interesting. During the winemaking process, there are so many waste. Skins, lees, so many, like tons of waste that usually wine producers sell for a very cheap price to the distillery to make grappa or other spirits. We are giving a second life to our waste. So we worked with a company, always in Emilia-Romagna, to transform the waste in organic compost for our vineyards. So a waste re-entered in the process due to a circular process, circular economy, and it becomes an ingredient of our wines. So this is just one example. So sustainability for us is extremely important. I think that in the winery there is the new generation, not just from the ownership perspective, but also we changed the winemaker, the agronomist, the many people in the marketing team. So not because they decided to change their job, but because just they retired. So we had this big new generation, this new, how can I say, when the new generation entered, not just from an ownership point of view. So I think that now we have so many different ideas, we are extremely creative in the winery, and we created this big project in the sustainability. Then our slogan, bringing Emilia-Romagna into the world and bringing the world into Emilia-Romagna, because we need to make this land one of the coolest area in the world. My dream is that in 20 years people will not go in Venice during the first visit in Italy, but they will come here because they want to discover our land, they want to discover our passion for food, our ingredients, and to live the Emilia-Romagna lifestyle that is unique in the world.
Let's talk a little bit about climate change, because
yes,
with in some ways you could say that because Lambrusco vines and the varieties are ancient. They are centuries and centuries old. And
absolutely.
And it may be that they're one of the first domesticated wild vines.
Yes.
Does that help in terms of dealing with the effects of climate change relative to some of the other, in talking with producers around the world, they're having to deal with different harvest times. They're having to deal with changing their canopy management, changing so many different aspects of it. Does the fact that the particularities of the Lambrusco vines make it easier to deal with climate change?
So first of all, with the climate change, there is nothing sure. So this is just my idea, and I think the answer is yes, it helps, because if we see the data of the last 10 years, we didn't see so big change like in other wine areas. I saw some data from the Barolo area that are really impressive, really extremely impressive, with the alcohol level that is growing and growing year after year. Here we didn't see this. We saw it, but in a very low way, small way. For sure, this crazy time last year, we never seen the rain. This year, in 4 days, we had the rain of the last 2 years. It's very hard to manage a vineyard nowadays, especially for an organic producer, because now I consider Medici Ermete an organic producer. So it is a problem. Thanks God, our governments around the world started to recognize the problem, and it wasn't sure just 2-3 years ago. So we understood that there is a problem. Now we need to understand how to face it, because the easiest way could be like to move our vineyards in the north, but our terroir would change. We started our discussion today, our dialogue starting from the terroir. That is magic here. So we don't want to move our vineyards in another land. We can do some experiments, but if Lambrusco Salamino, if Lambrusco Concerto has these characteristics, is because the vineyards of this wine are planted there, in 50 meters from us. So we need to face it. Last year, for example, we had a crazy vintage, because this estate, for example, had a very high level of alcohol in August, so we had to do an early harvest. Another estate, due to the lack of rain, didn't have a very good maturation of the grapes, so we had to do a late harvest, like in October. So it's extremely hard to manage this, and we need to face right now, and we need to start to discover using the technology that is different from chemistry. Mm-hmm. It's very different, because some people think that it's the same thing. No, chemistry is something, technology helps the activity in the vineyards and in the cellar. We need to start to think and to face about this problem for sure.
What do you think the next evolution of this region needs to be?
This is the question. Do you mean the wine region, or in general the region?
The wine aspect of it.
The wine aspect, I think that now we have a strong consortium. So this strong association that I'm sure that we will promote in a good way. Lambrusco, like Lambrusco, must be communicated. So like a gastronomic, versatile, and unique wine. We need to show, I love the idea to scream that Lambrusco is this. And to do this, as I said previously, we need to be a team. Medici Ermete alone, other wineries alone, can't do anything. We just can sell our wines around the world, but we don't give the idea of a wine region. Now it's the moment to give the idea of the wine region all over the world. That is a word extremely complicated for a wine perspective, because there is a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, every countries are wine producers. There are taxes, taxations, is extremely hard, but if we work together, using also the biggest brands of the area that from, like Medici Ermete is like in United States from 1965. I mean, we know very well that market. So working together, I think we can really affirm and give to the Lambrusco the right image that Lambrusco needs. And I think the new generation are starting to understand all over the world that Lambrusco is very unique. And I see all over the world that the new wine lovers, the new opinion leaders, the new somms are searching for this kind of wine. Less alcoholic, more acidity, more versatile, and Lambrusco has all these characteristics.
And Lambrusco has, I think, another unique characteristic that many wines don't have in terms of their... Everybody who I see drink Lambrusco always ends up smiling.
Yes, this is probably the best compliment that you can make to a Lambrusco producers or to a wine producers. I mean, you know. So we could do a marketing campaign linked to the smile and drinking Lambrusco.
Absolutely, absolutely. Grazie, Alessandro.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.